Done, the excitement of election night is about to begin.
We've used the same electoral system for centuries. It's called first past the post, and it's simple. Whoever gets the most votes in a constituency wins.
Well, so far we've had 460 results declared tonight.
All our election iconography comes from first past the post. The cross in the ballot box, the famous and evergreen swingometer. But one of the conditions for the Lib Dems of going into coalition was a referendum on our voting system.
I've got to go to David Dimble in the middle of eating a Mars bar.
On the 5th of May, there's going to be another election special broadcast from this very studio. In the first national referendum for nearly 40 years, we're going to be asked whether or not we want to junk first past the post in favour of a new system called the alternative vote, or AV. Now, AV works like this. Rather than vote for one candidate, you list the candidates in order of preference. The votes are then counted, and if no one gets more than 50% of the poll, then the person with the fewest number of votes is eliminated, and their second preference votes are reallocated to other candidates, and all the votes are counted again. What AV does is it ensures that your MP is elected with more than 50% of the vote. But is it fairer? The substance of the referendum debate has been about whether AV is actually a better system than first past the post or not. Don't forget, AV doesn't solve the problem the Lib Dems have, which is that they get a shed load of votes and not many seats.
Well, it's significantly fairer. Alternative vote isn't proportional representation, but it is much fairer constituency by constituency. What it does is it gets rid of the wasted vote problem. The difficulty is in this country, despite the fact we call ourselves a democracy, 2/3 of people voted against the MP they've got. That's not fair. And it also means that only one in every 80 votes really counted at the last election. In other words, there were votes that actually made a difference in seats that could potentially have changed hands.
What the alternative vote system does is that it means that some people who vote for fringe parties or loony parties like the monster raving loony party have a right to use their vote again and again and again. And that is wrong, because it means that people who vote for extremists and crazies have more votes than those who vote for the mainstream parties.
There's an awful lot at stake in this referendum for the political parties and their leaders. Put yourself in Nick Clegg's shoes as he's about to face the media the morning after the referendum. He doesn't like AV. In fact, he called it a grubby compromise. But for many in his party, the justification for going into coalition was a referendum on fairer votes.
The Liberals have finally won a referendum on electoral reform. It isn't even the system they want, and they lose it. This would be a disastrous blow for them, and it would take them years to recover from it. Their whole strategy for decades has been built on electoral reform. If they lose it, it means no electoral reform for many, many years, so you cannot quantify the catastrophe that would be.
The Prime Minister is also in some difficulty. Officially, he's supporting the No campaign, as historically his party likes first past the post. But Cameron is only in power with the help of his friend Nick Clegg and the Lib Dems, who are supporting AV.
I think it's become toxic, and I think it is a big problem for the coalition. And then I think it's equally difficult for Cameron, because he doesn't want to destabilise the coalition. He doesn't want to have AV, but he doesn't want to destabilise it so much that he loses the government. So what's he to do? People in the Conservative Party will be furious if AV is introduced, because they are certainly against it.
In the short term, it will cause David Cameron a lot of trouble with Conservative activists who will dislike it. But in the medium term, it makes David Cameron's strategy, that of being a less disliked Conservative, the only viable route for the Conservative Party. There'll obviously be a period in which the party may not recognise that, and that'll be very hard for David Cameron. But strategically, there are some advantages to a Yes for AV vote.
There is another tall and dark 40-something man in all this. Ed Miliband favours AV, while a swathe of the Labour Party don't. But it's his opponents who have most to win or lose from this result. If the public can work out what they're supposed to be doing in the polling booths of Britain on the 5th of May, then we will get a result. Yes to AV means a happy and reinvigorated Nick Clegg appearing on your TV screens, while Cameron takes the flak from his party. If it's a no to AV, then expect plenty of on-air debates about the future of the coalition.
Max Cotton and Vince Cable has stayed here to listen to that.